I'll tell you right now, I have never seen one this nice before. Got to be at least, what, 400 years old?
Yes.
What do you know about it? Where'd you get it?
From the moment Corey sees the gun, he knows this is no ordinary antique firearm. But before putting a price on it, he needs to uncover the story behind it. And that story begins with its owner.
But this is my oldest piece by far, and I inherited it. And it was handed through the generations to me.
What are you trying to get out of it?
I'm looking for $50K.
50,000.
50,000.
Craig is asking $50,000 for a gun that has been passed down through his family for generations. At that price, Corey needs to know exactly what he is looking at. So he calls in an expert.
Wheel-lock carbines are actually exceptionally rare. This is a wheel-lock. The wheel-lock came after the matchlock in firearms history, but before the flintlock. And this is stunning.
The wheel lock was an early firing system that used a spinning metal wheel to create a spark. It appeared before the flintlock and was used on European firearms from the late 16th and early 17th centuries. But this gun has a much more specific history.
This is from a series of known wheel-lock carbines that were made specifically for one man's personal guard, and that man was Wolf Dietrich von Rathenau, who was the Prince Archbishop of Salzburg between 1587 and 1612.
These carbines were made specifically for the personal guard of Wolf Dietrich von Rathenau, the Prince Archbishop of Salzburg. Only 36 men were part of that guard, making the connection unusually specific. Even more remarkable, similar examples known to Alex are now preserved in museums. That puts Craig's gun in a very rare category. But Alex still needs one final test. Can a firearm this old actually work?
Do you think it would actually fire?
But based on looking at it, yeah, it should actually function.
So where do we go from here, basically?
Here we go.
The range, the 420-year-old wheel lock actually fires. That gives Alex another important piece of evidence before putting a value on it. Its age, design, decoration, rarity, and working condition all point to a significant price. But the number he gives is not quite what Craig was hoping for.
What do you think it's worth now?
So based on its age, the way in which it's designed, the decoration of it, I think it's $40,000.
Alex values the gun at $40,000, $10,000 below Craig's asking price. Now Corey has to make the numbers work for Pawn Stars.
You know I can't pay you 40 for it. I got to make some money.
Would you go 35?
Not as easily as I could do 30.
Okay. I would go 32.5.
All right, we got a deal.
Craig accepts $32,500, and the deal is done. The gun's value came from far more than its age. Its connection to a historic personal guard, its rarity, and its surviving functionality made this 420-year-old firearm an extraordinary piece. And for Pawn Stars, this was only the beginning of a series of items where the real value was hidden behind the object itself.
All right, so the real reason why we came up here is we heard that there might be a Gatling gun available.
Well, we do have one. Would you like to see it? It's kind of over here in the other end of the store.
Absolutely.
Whoa, that's amazing.
It's a Colt Gatling gun, marked 1883 model.
Rick and Sean travel to Utah after hearing that a shop has an antique Gatling gun. Known for its multiple barrels and hand-crank design, the Gatling gun marked an important step in the development of rapid-fire weapons. But for a 19th century firearm, age alone does not determine its value. Original condition, completeness, and history can make a major difference. And this particular Gatling gun appears to have all three.
So to your knowledge, has this ever been restored? Is there any replacement parts?
All original. All original.
Oh, God.
The gun is identified as a Colt Model 1883 and remains all original. Even the carriage has survived, adding to the gun's overall completeness. But one question now matters most. How much is it actually worth?
This is the magazine, holds 105 rounds. Cartridges go down into here. This fires as fast as you turn the crank, up to 750 rounds per minute.
Unreal.
Oh my God.
Its multiple barrel design allowed the Gatling gun to maintain rapid fire as the operator turned the crank. For collectors, the combination of Colt, the 1883 model, and its original condition makes this a particularly desirable piece. And the owner has a specific reason for the price he wants. He has a nearly identical auction sale to point to.
All right, so you're selling this. How much you asking?
One almost identical to this, sold at an auction in Texas 2 years ago for $335,000. And that's what I'm going to ask for mine.
$335,000. That's the asking price, based on a nearly identical gun that reportedly sold at auction. But before making an offer, Rick wants to see how the Gatling gun performs.
I can't believe this guy is actually going to let us fire his Gatling gun. I mean, how many people alive today have actually shot one of these things? This is so cool.
At the range, Rick gets the chance to fire the Gatling gun himself. The experience only makes him more interested in owning it. But excitement cannot replace the business side of the deal. Pawn Stars still needs enough room between the purchase price and the potential resale value to make the deal worthwhile. So Rick makes his first offer.
I have the Gatling gun on a very high pedestal. It may be the ultimate gun.
I mean, I don't mean to insult you, but I'll give you 200 grand.
Well, that's too low of an offer.
Rick raises his offer to $220,000, but the owner still refuses. The gap is simply too wide, and the deal falls apart. The Gatling gun remains at the owner's $335,000 asking price. And this case shows why a high auction value does not always mean a buyer will pay the same amount. The next item will put another remarkable piece of history in front of the Pawn Stars team.
I've got something here, very rare, a LeMat pistol from the Civil War.
It's one of the rarest guns in American history. It's a 9-shot revolver and a shotgun.
Unlike antique guns valued simply for their age, the LeMat is directly connected to one of the most turbulent periods in American history. Its unusual design combined a 9-shot revolver with an additional shotgun barrel in a single firearm. But with a piece this rare, Rick first needs to know whether the gun is an authentic LeMat and exactly which model it is.
I've been in this business 30 years and no one's ever walked in here with one of these.
I could probably sell it for $13,000.
The seller is asking $13,000. But rare firearms can be difficult to value because reproductions, replacements, and modifications can significantly affect what collectors are willing to pay. So before discussing the price, Rick brings in an expert to examine the gun.
They were made in France, right?
That's right. What happened is LeMat was from New Orleans, and the Union didn't want these made.
LeMat was from New Orleans, while production was connected to France. That history makes the gun's markings and serial number especially important when determining which version Rick is looking at. And the expert soon finds a crucial clue.
Where it says Colonel LeMat's patent, I want to see that this is correct, and it is. The LeMat actually comes in 3 models. Second model starts at serial number 900, and it runs through 2900, and this is 1595.
With serial number 1595 falling within the range of the second model, Mark confirms that the gun is an authentic second model LeMat. But authenticity is only half the story. A closer inspection reveals that some parts have been replaced, while an important hallmark has been polished away. For collectors, those changes can make a major difference. The gun is authentic, but its condition is no longer completely original. And now, those missing details are about to become the center of the negotiation.
Okay, so taking all that in consideration, how much do you want for it?
I could do $13,500.
There's markings missing, important markings. I'm thinking like $7,000.
If you were to go out right now and try to find one anywhere in the country to buy, I don't think you could.
The seller holds at $13,500 because he believes finding another one would be extremely difficult. Rick sees it differently. He has to account for the gun's condition, the missing markings, and the risk of reselling it. The two sides are looking at the same rare firearm, but they are valuing two very different things.
I'll tell you what, I'll go $10,000. And I think I might be paying too much at $10,000, but I'll go $10,000.
I just can't do that. 12 is really the best I can do.
Yeah, I can't do it.
All right.
All right, $10,000. It's an open offer.
The deal appears to settle at $10,000, but the seller still wants to know whether the market will pay more. He takes the LeMat to a gun show, but no one offers more than $10,000. That brings both sides back to the same number.
Well, if no one offered you 10, maybe I should pay 95.
I can't do that.
All right, 10 grand.
All right.
All right.
In the end, the seller accepts $10,000 and the deal is done. Rick gets an authentic second model LeMat, despite the changes that affected its condition. And if this rare Civil War revolver pushed Rick this far, the next item may take the negotiation even further.
We have some pistols. There's about 13 of them.
Interesting. So where'd you get these?
These were my grandfather's grandfathers. They've been passed down to me about 20 years ago.
So did he rob banks or?
Rick is looking at a collection of 13 pistols that have been passed down through several generations. Most date from the 1860s and 1870s, and the owner wants $6,500 for the entire collection. But with antique firearms, the number of pieces is not what matters most. One rare, original, well-preserved pistol can be worth more than several common examples combined. So Rick needs to find out whether this is an ordinary collection or a serious bargain.
They all look like they're 32 rimfire, so I guess he collected 32 rimfire.
That's what he liked.
What's 32 rimfire mean?
It was a popular caliber back then.
32 rimfire was once a popular cartridge for small civilian pistols. These guns were generally simpler and more accessible than larger military firearms. But their value today depends heavily on the manufacturer, model, rarity, and condition. And Rick cannot determine all of that just by looking at them.
I'll tell you what, because I'm sort of buying a pig in a poke here, I'll give you $3,500 for all of them.
That's definitely lower than I was thinking. Could you do like 5,500?
Here's the thing. I know there's money here, I just don't know exactly how much. Okay, I'll tell you what. $4,000 is like the best I could do.
Okay, I think that'll work.
Without an expert available, Rick has to accept some risk. He buys all 13 pistols for $4,000 without knowing exactly what each one is worth. If there are rare pieces hidden in the collection, it could be a bargain. But if most are common, Rick may have overpaid. Then Alex finally gets a chance to examine the collection.
So this is an Allen wheel lock, and this was made probably about 1861. What's rare about this is the brass frame. You can see here's another version of it, but it's all steel. Much more common. This is very, very difficult to find.
Alex discovers the collection is a mix of Civil War pistols and later cowboy guns. One Allen and wheelock immediately stands out because of its rare brass frame. Another pistol retains its original finish and rosewood grip, suggesting a higher-end example. Details like materials, engraving, and original finish can create major differences in value between otherwise similar guns.
Okay. What do you think they're worth altogether?
Well, I can tell you I don't think any are reproduction. About half are Civil War. So the Civil War guns tend to start at about $1,000 at the bottom and then move up. This value on this, that's a $1,500 pistol.
Damn.
At this point, Rick's $4,000 purchase is starting to look like a bargain. Just a few of the standout pistols are already approaching what he paid for the entire collection. And Alex has an even bigger possibility.
So he did a fairly good job, right?
Yeah, I think 13 original 32 rimfires, $4,000 is a really good job. Without firing any, I would imagine that you'll double your money.
If the pistols are mechanically sound, Alex believes Rick could double or even triple his investment. That puts a $4,000 purchase at a potential value of roughly $8,000 to $12,000. And the biggest surprise is that the potential profit does not come from one exceptional piece, but from the collection as a whole. Before Rick knows exactly how much he has made, however, the pistols still need to pass one final test. And that is where this $4,000 gamble could become an even bigger win.
Okay. Yes, this is quite amazing, actually. This is probably made in the 1500s. There was a gunsmith who just did some beautiful work on here. This is a wheel lock. It's what they had before the flintlock.
Right away, Rick realizes this is no ordinary antique gun. It may have been made in the 16th century, during one of the earliest stages of personal firearms in Europe. The wheel lock used a rotating wheel to create sparks, making it far more complicated than the designs that came later. That complexity made these guns expensive and difficult to produce, which is one reason surviving examples are highly sought after by collectors. The elaborate wooden stock also suggests this may have been more than a weapon. It could have been a status piece made for a wealthy owner.
I'd like to get $25,000 for it. You know, if I did make the sale today, I think I would upgrade my off-road vehicle. It's pretty worn down. You don't like to get broke down out in the woods.
The fact that it came from an auctioned storage locker makes its true value even harder to judge. Rick knows the gun is important, but his expert is not available at the shop. Instead of waiting, Rick takes the risk and buys it for $20,000.
I could probably go down 23.
I'll give you $20,000 for the gun. I think that's fair for both of us.
Yeah, that would work.
Rick has just spent $20,000 on a gun more than 4 centuries old without a full expert examination. If the markings are genuine, he could have an exceptionally rare historical piece. But if its origin or components prove questionable, the purchase could become a very expensive gamble.
Beautiful. All of this hand engraving, this was really made not only as a weapon, but it had its own type of style and its own signature to it. But this is a nicer wheel lock than most, so this was a gentleman's gun.
The markings on the gun now provide important clues about its origin. Nuremberg and Augsburg were both major centers of craftsmanship, and their control marks can help identify where an object was produced. But Alex needs to examine those markings more closely before giving Rick a final value.
Okay, the barrel has the control mark for the city of Augsburg, and it has a maker mark of AS. That is Anton Schmidt. So this is a known maker of barrel. There's no question, Rick, this thing's original.
Alex confirms that the gun is an original South German wheel lock dating to around 1580. The specific markings turn an initial impression into solid evidence of its origin and period. But one question remains. Can a gun more than 4 centuries old still function?
Hard-pressed to find a wheel lock that's actually been fired on cameras.
You got your phone? I left it in the truck. I'll let you guys load this up. I'll go grab my phone.
Because we're gonna go low pressure, I got a piñata, which is a really easy thing to hit. Hopefully it'll give us a little bit of like a confetti explosion.
Okay, load this thing up.
After more than 4 centuries, the wheel lock is put to the test. If the mechanism still works properly, Rick will have another important piece of evidence about the gun's condition.
The wheel lock functions and fires perfectly. This is ideal. They have this beautiful wheel lock, it is absolutely authentic, and they know it functions.
See? I could shoot a piece of artwork. So what is this amazing piece of artwork worth?
So I would say I would start at 50,000. You'll probably get more.
The result is far beyond what Rick paid. More importantly, this is an authentic late 16th century piece that still functions and carries clear signs of its original history. What looked like an old gun from a storage locker has turned out to be a historical artifact worth more than twice what Rick paid.
It's a French double-barrel musket coaching gun.
Damn, this thing's dangerous.
My wife hates guns. She's been begging me to get rid of it.
The gun in front of Rick stands out immediately because of its unusual design. It is a French double-barrel coach gun, made during a period when traveling by coach could expose wealthy passengers to danger on the road. Its ornate construction suggests this was more than an ordinary defensive weapon. And Rick wants to know exactly who this gun was made for.
It was probably a coach gun for someone, a duke or an earl or something like that.
In the 18th century, noblemen traveled by coach across the country, and this is what's been carried, a double-barreled flintlock shotgun.
It's way more ornate than anything you'd usually see.
The engraving and spring-loaded bayonet make the gun especially unusual. But with antique European firearms, appearance alone cannot establish their history. Proof marks can reveal where a gun was made, tested, or later modified. So Rick calls in expert Sean to examine it.
But then to have the addition of a spring bayonet, that just puts it over the top. There are 3 proof marks. What's really, really intriguing is that these are English proofs on a French gun.
The marks reveal that the gun was originally made in France but later modified in England. Its barrels were shortened and a spring bayonet was added, giving it an even more specialized role as a coach defense weapon. That unusual history makes the gun more than simply an old firearm.
So in order to defend their wealthy passengers, they would want to outfit the coaches with a really good defense gun. And this definitely would have been it.
Another clue appears in the gold overlay marked Cannon Tordo. The marking referred to a twisted barrel made from high-quality steel. Combined with the engraving and unusual bayonet, it suggests a gun made to a considerably higher standard than an ordinary flintlock.
They would mark it with Cannon Tordo so that people would know that this was of a high-quality steel. You know, a good guesstimate in an auction, because this is so unusual, $10,000.
Are you serious?
Absolutely.
Sean puts its auction value at around $10,000. But instead of offering the seller that amount in cash, Rick proposes a trade. The seller wants a guitar, giving Rick another way to make the deal work.
You want to buy a guitar, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to buy your gun. So I can give you $4,000 in guitar.
You got something good?
I have the guitar. How about like a 78 Les Paul, all original?
The seller brings out a 1978 Les Paul that is completely original. It had been kept in its case since it was bought, making its condition an important part of its appeal to collectors. Now, the two sides are no longer negotiating over a price, but over two very different collectible items.
Damn, this is beautiful. It's guitar for the gun.
Guitar for the gun.
I think we got a deal.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Beautiful.
The deal ends with no additional cash changing hands. The seller walks away with the vintage guitar he wanted, while Rick gets an unusually rare French coach gun that Sean valued at around $10,000 at auction. A gun the seller simply wanted to get rid of has turned into a historically significant collectible with a story spanning France and England.
It's a Colt 45 from the 1800s. This gun is the gun that killed Jesse James.
If this is the gun that killed Jesse James, that's damn cool and I want it.
An old Colt would already be enough to catch Rick's attention, but the story behind this gun is what makes it extraordinary. The seller claims it was the gun that killed Jesse James, one of the most infamous outlaws of the American West. If that's true, its value would go far beyond its age or manufacturer. It would be directly connected to one of the most famous deaths in Wild West history.
So this gun, my dad bought from Andy Palmer, famous gun collector, who got this from Dr. Cornelius, who had a Wild West medicine show. And he got this gun from Frank James, who said, this is the gun that killed my brother.
That chain of ownership sounds compelling, but it also raises the biggest question. Can the story actually be proven? Several guns have been claimed over the years to be the weapon that killed Jesse James. So Rick needs to determine whether this is a documented historical artifact or simply a gun carrying a famous story.
There's 2 or 3 guns that have been claimed in history to have been the gun. Bob Ford, who did the shooting, says that he shot him with a Colt 45. And I can clearly document that this was toted around America as the gun.
The documents show that this gun had been presented to the public for decades as the Jesse James gun. But that still does not prove it was the actual weapon used in the shooting. For an item that could potentially be worth hundreds of thousands of dollars, Rick needs evidence stronger than a long-standing reputation.
If this is the gun that killed Jesse James, I have no problem giving you $250,000. Here's your problem.
Rick can see the enormous potential if the story is authenticated. But when he looks closer, a major problem emerges.
According to everything I know, he was killed with a Smith & Wesson, not a Colt 45, which is what you say you have here.
Original markings can help identify the manufacturer and establish the identity of an antique firearm. But on this gun, the finish has covered the markings Rick needs to see. And without a factory letter, there is no clear documentation tying this specific gun to its claimed history.
It's got a great story, but I deal in facts, not stories. I don't even want to make you an offer.
In the end, the same story that makes the gun fascinating is what prevents Rick from putting a value on it. If its connection to Jesse James could be proven, this could potentially become a 6-figure historical collectible. But based on the evidence available, Rick can only confirm that the gun was displayed for years as the weapon that killed Jesse James. And this time, he chooses facts over legend.